All right, looks like we're all here. I sincerely apologize for the 30 minutes turning into more than that. So forgive us. We will jump right to it. This evening, we'll start with our opening exercise. Ms. Eldridge with our pledge.
Good evening. Our pledge leader tonight is Sloan Hill. Sloan is an 8th grade student at Willow Springs Middle School. Her favorite subject in school is math, and she has aspirations of studying medicine in the future to care for children as a pediatrician. Sloan is closing her chapter at Willow Springs in the next few weeks and looking forward to moving up to Lovejoy High School. You can spot her in the fall under the Friday night lights as a Lovejoy Majestic. Thank you for representing our campus tonight and for leading the way with positivity and light. Crowns up.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge of allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Great job, ma'am. Thank you so much. All right, next up tonight, a very special evening. We get to recognize one of our very own, Miss Amy Smith. And I know that we all may have comments. No, I do. So I'll just start out and lead us off. So, Amy, I just want to say thank you tonight for 9 amazing years of service. I'm proud to serve beside you. As I think about Amy, I can't help but think about the amazing qualities that she's exhibited on this board. When I think of Amy, I think of these traits, and she's consistently shown kindness, loving, selflessness, classy, committed, heartfelt, capable, caring, humble, honest, integrity-driven, and an exceptionally hard worker. And I know there's more. Those are top of mind for me, and they weren't very hard to come up with when I started thinking about Amy today. I fretted about talking about Amy because I just think so highly of her. A huge thank you also to her husband, Abe, and her family that are here to support her. For giving her to us, to the community, and allowing her to invest the time in service to our students, our administrators, our teachers and staff, and our families at Lovejoy. We're better today than we were when you came because of your service. And in short, Amy, I just want to say thank you and say it's been an honor to work alongside you, and I am thankful to be able to call you a friend.
I want to say a couple of things. Amy, I'm proud to have gotten to know you and serve with you, and I feel like Amy's been a bridge for this district. She, 9 years is a long time, and what your family has given to our district is really special because we've gone from being a little bitty district that was just figure out our way, and Amy was a part of that 9 years ago, to growing up into something that's different, and we've had to gone through a lot of changes. Amy has shared with us incredible experience to help guide us over these years. Haven't been here for a long time, and it's been a privilege. Thank you.
I want to concur that thank you to the Smith family for sharing Amy with us for these last 9 years, because I know what kind of sacrifice the family makes in order to serve in this role. I also want to say thanks for inspiring me to be a leadership TASB. That was a transformational experience for me. And many of your classmates in the 2020 class I count as friends. So really do appreciate it. Thanks.
So I just like to thank you for always modeling what it is to be a servant leader. You've always shown great empathy and care for those that you serve and those that you interact with. Thank you for trusting in me and working alongside me and being an example for me. And you've just brought a wealth of experience to this board in its current form, based on your unique experiences as a master trustee and being an educator. And so that experience has been very valuable, I think, for me, and I can speak on behalf of the board, to this board as well. And it's been fun. I really appreciate your commitment and your work ethic. So thank you.
Amy, thank you so much for 9 years of service to this district. And I know it's not just 9 years, it was plenty of time before that. And I know many of you know, but if you don't, Marvin mentioned, but Amy's also a master trustee. And so not just service to this district, but leaning in to really be the very best and at the top level of trustee. If there's a game, you're at the top level of the trustee game. And what I appreciate most about Amy is she always brings us back to center on what the main goal is, and the main goal is the kids. And I want the teachers to know that Amy always speaks up for you, all the time. And so thank you for your service. Best wishes into your next chapter.
So Amy, I want to make sure you know on behalf of all the staff and educators in the district just how grateful we are for your extraordinary 9 years of service. Your unwavering dedication, your care, your wisdom are unmatched. You have left both a lasting and a loving impact on every single one of us. You've been a fierce advocate for what is best for kids. Our classrooms are brighter because of you. Our futures are more hopeful, and our district is stronger. You have not only shaped policy, but even more importantly, you have shaped the hearts of so many. We know that this service does not happen alone, and you've got an entire front row of people here who have been selfless in their support as well. We know it's been a big sacrifice on your family. We know that there have probably been sleepless nights. There have been things that have been heavy on your heart, and they have watched you endure that, as well as probably stepped in when you were stepping in to play such an important role in our district. So to Abe, to Abigail, to Anna, Addison, and to Abram, thank you deeply from the bottom of our hearts, as well as Jean and John, who I got to know at some football games, which was so fun. I would imagine that you all are unbelievably proud of Amy. We are as well, and we're just so grateful for her impact. And thank you for your kindness, your courage, and your care. And know that the lives you have touched are your legacy, and you will be missed, but that legacy is going to be felt for generations. And speaking of legacy, we have to recognize, Amy, that your creation of the much loved and highly impactful tradition of the Lovejoy letter writing campaign has become one of our most heartfelt and important traditions in this school district. And if you're not familiar with that, that is where the week before Thanksgiving, really the day before our teachers, staff, custodians, bus drivers, food and nutrition workers leave for their Thanksgiving holiday, they are given a packet of personal letters to each of them about the impact that they have. And so they go out on their break feeling love and support and deep value. And so it is very fitting that someone like you, it's no surprise that through your love, support, and deep commitment to connection and community, that you would create a tradition that is echoing well into the future and leaving an impact without end. And to that aim, we wanted to put some of that love and support that we all get to feel the day before Thanksgiving break in your hands and your heart. And so we have a gift for you. So that is a custom-made box by Mr. McCasland, but inside what you will find is letters of love from this community and all of our educators about the impact that you have had on us. But we had a major problem. That box was not big enough. And so we've got some wonderful people with some of the, you got to show the ones with the little tiny hands from the LCDC. And then again, we have even more because one box would not hold it all.
Our goal was to leave Amy speechless, and hopefully we did that. So, Amy, thank you so much. All right, next up tonight is community recognition for Leadership Lovejoy. Ms. Cordell.
Yes, good evening, board and community. We are so excited to share with you a celebration of community engagement. We have had members of our community that have invested considerable time in our school district. They took a deep dive into all the operational functions, whether that be curriculum instruction, human resources, maintenance, operations, finance, and spent several day-long experiences with us, and also toured all of our campuses, took a deep dive into campus operations with our principals, and to have community members that would be willing to dedicate this amount of personal time to understand Lovejoy ISD better
So I'm going to call your name, and once I do, you'll receive a certificate and shake their hands, and then we'll grab a group photo. How does that sound? It's like the 1,000 photo we've taken this year, so y'all should be used to it. Pamela Saylor, come on up. Congratulations. Casey Havens. Is Barbara here? Barbara Ferris. Barbara got 2 awards this evening. Congratulations. Dr. Amy Bronson. Dr. Laura Isbell. Holly Dominguez. And Kim Rollins. Congratulations, ladies.
Next up is student recognition for our Lovejoy High School Student Superintendent Connection Council, Ms. Cordell and Mr. Wheeler.
As Mr. Wheeler approaches, I'll use the microphone. And Mr. Wheeler, do we ever, oh, we already have our students ready to go? Excellent. We, this evening, want to recognize the Student Superintendent Connection Council. This is a group of 9th through 12th grade students that I have the opportunity of meeting with monthly. Mr. Wheeler is gracious enough to meet with us as well, and we talk about student voice, student perspective, issues that they might be facing within our school system, opportunities to improve, and also things that they think are going well that we want to continue to pour resources and support into. This year, we decided to have a focus on leadership, and so the council facilitated a panel of first responders. They facilitated a panel of our wonderful Board of Trustees, as well as our 3 area mayors as well, and did just a beautiful job, represented us well. And then we capped this off with a simulation of a city council meeting at Lucas City Council, where we had our own mayor, city manager, city secretary, and city council members, and they did a spectacular job. As a matter of fact, I think that the city council and the Board of Trustees, you all would be surprised at the level of efficiency that they were able to achieve. It was really remarkable, but at every turn, you all have represented us so well, and we're so grateful that you expend this additional time to be a student representative, because we often know that the time spent with us means you all have some makeup work that you have to do when you get back to campus. So we're so proud of you and grateful for your investment and your leadership.
Good evening, everyone. I would also like to add, and just a special thank you to Superintendent Cordell for allowing our students the opportunity to take on some of these leadership roles. Seeing you all rise to the occasion on that City Hall meeting was pretty special. So we have 4 with us today. We're going to read and then come up and get your certificates. Marshall Branham. Cooper Lee. Joseph Reed. And Caroline Wilkins.
All right, student recognition additional is our Lovejoy High School Majestics officers and powerlifting, Dr. Zambezi.
Members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you for having us tonight. First up, we will have Lovejoy ISD Fine Arts, and I'd love to introduce Miss Jacqueline Simone, the leader of our Lovejoy High School Majestics dance team, and our officers.
Good evening, everyone. It is an incredible honor to be here this evening to recognize some of our talented Majestics. Our dance officers had an incredible contest season and ended up qualifying for the Crowd Pleasers Dance State Competition. These incredible ladies are typically being recognized for their servant leadership and the way that they lead their peers, but tonight we have the opportunity to also get to recognize their incredible dance talents. They led their team to an overall grand champion title, as well as themselves by competing 4 dance officer routines, along with 3 team routines, an elite routine, and each of them completed a solo. At our state competition, they finished second in their division and took 3rd place overall, and competed in that overall category against some incredibly talented 6A high schools all across the state. So we are incredibly proud of them for finishing in such high regard. So at this time, I will recognize each of them. Our fabulous captain, Robin Krieger. First Lieutenant, Allie Trevino. Senior Lieutenant, Elisa Simonova. Junior Lieutenant, Audrey Morgan. And Junior Lieutenant, Emma Pierce.
All right, next up in student recognitions, I'd like to introduce Lovejoy ISD Athletics and our LHS powerlifting coach, Coach Murdoch.
How you doing? Thank you, Superintendent Cordell, Board of Trustees, for having us. These student athletes we're about to introduce are quite literally the strongest people in Lovejoy Independent School District, and it's verified, it's measurable, it's purely objective. So we had 7 total leopards qualify for the state competition in their respective divisions. If you don't know, they're divided by weight class, and people compete in three lifts, and it's impressive numbers that were put up by all these athletes. Our top finisher at the state competition, this meet all the way down in Edinburgh, Texas, was Tenny Sagoon, who placed 3rd overall for the girls division. The boys had top 10 finishes by Luke Sussman, who was also regional champion. Gavin Prince, who was 4th place in the region. Reese Wallace, multiple-time qualifier, finished 2nd in the region this year. Natalie Lennart, 3rd in region this year. Ben Sussman achieved a total to qualify for the state tournament as well. And finally, regional champion Ty Smith. Please congratulate these student athletes on their accomplishments. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for those great celebrations tonight, and thank you for everything that everyone did there. All right, item 7 tonight is public comments related to April 28, 2025 agenda items.
Good evening, President Owens, members of the board, Superintendent Cordell. We do have one public comment this evening. Give me just a moment. And I'll read the statement, call the member up, and then have them state their name and address for the record. Okay, each individual will have one opportunity per meeting to share their comments with the Board of Trustees, not multiple opportunities per individual agenda item. If a speaker is not present when his or her name is called, the speaker forfeits the opportunity to speak at that meeting. All speakers will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. The presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the number of minutes per speaker to no less than 1 minute in order to maintain effective meeting management. The speakers will be allotted for public comment. The amount of time per speaker may be reduced as determined appropriate by the board, and may allot additional time for public comment to defer specific agenda items for review at a subsequent meeting in an effort to allow more public comment as determined necessary by the board. This public comment card will not be maintained from one meeting to the next and is only applicable to the meeting on the date in which it was submitted. If you have a specific concern related to an employee of the district or a specific student issue, you're encouraged to utilize the district's governance procedures provided in board policies, DGBA local, F&G local, and GF local, or grievance processes. Each grievance procedure allows for an individual to redress grievances with the board. All relevant policies are available online at lovejoyisd.net. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated in the meeting if, after the provision of a single warning, the disruptive behavior continues. The individual may be escorted out of the meeting by district law officials or law enforcement. It is a criminal offense for a person with intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting, to obstruct or interfere with the ordinary conduct of the meeting by physical action or utter verbiage. And with that, the Board of Trustees appreciates your active participation in the district. Ms. Ann Smith is up, and I'm gonna get your timer ready. You can start now.
Okay. So I live at 1012 Montgomery, Ann Smith, and I've never given a public comment, which is fabulous. So I'm here tonight because I am no longer on the Board of Trustees, so I was not at the table able to say all the wonderful things that you all said about Amy. So I just wanted to say thank you, my dear friend, for everything you've done. I am so moved by your passion for kids, your heartfelt discipline, keeping people grounded, the focus, your heart. And a funny story, when Amy decided to run in 2016, I thought, why would anyone run for school board? And I'm like, are you sure? She's like, no, I want to make a difference. I want to do something at the higher level. And then sure enough, she's telling me, hey, you should do this in 2017. So we went through COVID together. We went through multiple superintendent searches, but Amy was always the voice of reason for kids, for staff. I'm so proud of you. 9 wonderful years, not always easy. Your family missed you a lot. You missed a lot of things, but I wanted to be able to say publicly how much I think of you, how well you've represented this role. I think I speak on behalf of previous board members that served with you. We are all just so honored to have served with you. So thank you for everything, and this will be my one and only public comment.
Well, we enjoy those types of public comments, and so, thank you. All right, next up this evening is our invocation. Mr. Bobo, could you lead us?
Dear God, thank you so much for Amy's and her family's really contribution to our district and the legacy that that family left is leaving for us and still going to be around for a while. So we appreciate her. We thank you for bringing her into our lives. We thank you for the graduates of Leadership Lovejoy, the success that we've had getting to know each other, and the camaraderie that we've built in that group. Thank you so much for the success of our students with the Majestics and the powerlifting team. Please be with all our teachers, be with all the parents as we consider the importance of our school district as a board. be with us as we think about these things, as we really work hard to make this district just the very best it can be. Amen.
Thank you, Marvin. All right, next up tonight is item 9. You have notification items in your packet. Those are purely for notification. Item 10 is our consent agenda. Is there anything in the consent agenda that anyone would want pulled for discussion or review? And if not, I'd consider a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So moved, Julie McLaughlin, second Jason James, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Thank you. Item 11 tonight is our celebration of learning. Dr. Lori Tinsley.
Well, thank you. We are going to continue the celebration. If you recall last month, we shared with you a partnership with the PTO here in Lovejoy, and that partnership has to do with Diverse Abilities Day and some work that we did on our elementary campuses. And this is another opportunity for us to celebrate that partnership, and that is something that makes Lovejoy so very special. So Ms. Stephanie Krantz is going to come and share with you some of the partnership that we've been engaging in with PTO on providing some parent engagement and education opportunities. And it's really grown much faster than we had anticipated, and very proud of the outcome. I also want to recognize Casey Haven, Jennifer Rowe, and Amy Staub. They've been a big part of this as well to ensure that it's successful and we are getting out the information to our parents on some very timely topics. So I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie.
Thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Thank you, Superintendent Cordell and Board, for the opportunity to share this collaborative process that's happened between PTO and Lovejoy ISD around parent education. So really, the goal has been to use our collective skills and resources to plan and execute parent education programs that are responsive to the wishes of our parents and support student programming as well that reflects community values while addressing key areas of need. So where we found ourselves was the district has some knowledge, we have some connections with speakers, and PTO had some resources and skills as well, and we were kind of working separately. And so we decided to bring those collective efforts together. So this was the team. This kind of started in '23, and so Sharena Dunn, I don't even remember how it initially started. It was kind of some like general conversations in passing, and then it was, let's get together and let's talk about what we can do. So Casey Havens has been involved, as has Jennifer Rowe, Amy Staub, and then Angie Lindblom, who is our district social worker. And so that's kind of been the team over the last 2 years. And so we came together in, here's our kind of our timeline. So in the fall of 2023, we were like, let's come together for some formal conversations about parent education in Lovejoy. And PTO had done a great job. They're very connected to our parents, and they have their ears right there in the community, and they can hear what our parents want. And so they went and asked and got a lot of collective responses about what our parents were wanting and needing. And so we came together with that, and we developed 2 threads for our parent education programs, and it's raising safe and healthy children, and then college and career and post-secondary readiness. So last year in 2023-24 school year, we did 7 sessions, and we had about 200 parents that participated across those 7 sessions. And then this year, we've done 10 sessions, and we've had about 300 parents who have attended those sessions. So these are just some of the examples and how we collectively, Jennifer is our graphics guru, so we kind of get together, we develop titles, descriptions, and then they also have this great outreach on communicating and the reach in the community. And so we felt like it was really important that we have those structures, and then of course, I have contact within the district about the communication that can go. and we really wanted to let all of our parents know about these events. So these are some of the examples we had around college and career and life readiness over the last 2 years. So I am extremely proud of that work, but it has been a team effort with a lot of people involved. And we also have kind of consulted with an assisted PTO when they're trying to bring in student programming, if we can help reach out and find a presenter, but also kind of being the liaison between the campuses with student programming to ensure that some of those things are getting on our campuses and are responsive to the community and what needs we see happening. So our next steps are we're meeting again next week. And we are going to start planning for the 2025-2026 school year and looking at what topics and needs that our community might have around parent education and how we can bring that in and help support our parents and our students get what we feel like they need and want. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to share tonight, and thank you to these amazing ladies in the PTO who support that work as well.
I just want to add, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. It's a tremendous amount of work that maybe not everybody sees behind the scenes, but I was attending PTO council meetings, I think back during the smaller plant on your screen there. And thank you to Miss Jennifer and Miss Casey for the work that Miss Amy, all the work that you've done to put together. I think this is a really good example of where we're coming together as parents to take care of each other as a community. Because at the end of the day, we're just trying to raise some really good human beings, right, and launch them into the world and maybe not lose our minds while we're doing it. So thank you for this programming and for explaining it to us.
Yeah, definitely. I'll follow up with that. Thank you to the group that did all this, and I can't really add much more. She said that really, really well, but I wanted to chime in and say thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Item 12 tonight is the annual announcement on continuing education of the Board of Trustees. So I'm going to do a little light reading here. Under the State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education for each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I'm required to announce the name of each board member who has completed the required continuing education, who's exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirement for trainings are measured as of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. There are 7 training areas for board members continuing education: local district orientation, orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code, team building, additional continuing education, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, and identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. To the extent applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as to the required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled their training. At the conclusion of the announcement, I will announce any board members training in excess of the continuing education requirements. Local district orientation, no first-year board members. Orientation to the Texas Education Code, no first-year board members. Post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code is not applicable at this time. Team building, the following board members have completed the annual team building training: Barrett Owens, Jeff Wood, Amy Smith, Julie McLaughlin, Mark Wheelis, Marvin Bobo, and Jason James. Additional continuing education, the following board members have completed the additional continuing education requirements: Barrett Owens, Jeff Wood, Amy Smith, Julie McLaughlin, Mark Wheelis, Marvin Bobo, and Jason James. Evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, the following board members have completed the biannual training on evaluating student academic performance and setting goals: Barrett Owens, Jeff Wood, Amy Smith, Julie McLaughlin, Mark Wheelis, Marvin Bobo, and Jason James. Identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. The following board members have completed the biannual training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking: Barrett Owens, Jeff Wood, Amy Smith, Julie McLaughlin, Mark Wheelis, Marvin Bobo, and Jason James. Exceeding required continuing education, board member Barrett Owens exceeded the required amount by 3 hours. Board member Jeff Wood exceeded the required amount by 3 hours. Amy Smith exceeded the required amount by 0 hours. Julie McLaughlin exceeded the required amount by 6 hours. Mark Wheelis exceeded the required amount by 4 hours. Marvin Bobo exceeded the required amount by 17 hours. .25 hours. Jason James exceeded the required amount by 6 hours. All right, that light reading is over. Next up this evening is the presentation of the 2025 bond update. Mr. Percival.
Good evening. I hope that the expectation is not that I go through my presentation that expeditiously. I wish I could. I don't have the ability to speak that fast. So we want to provide a brief update of the 2025 bond election. As you guys recall, on February the 13th, the board authorized a bond election that will happen on May 3rd, which is this coming Saturday. In the meantime, we've had an opportunity to go out and engage with different community presentations to provide information, answer questions out in the community. And you can see a list of those dates and locations, as well as bus tours. We've had an opportunity to engage with the Chamber of Commerce Board, the former board and foundation members here within the district, Rotary Club of Fairview, fine arts families here within the district, as well as a local realtor group. Here's a shot of one of the bus tours that we were able to engage with about 3 weeks ago. And you can see the group there. We had an opportunity to go through both Hart, the high school, and over at Transportation and Maintenance. As we noted before in the March meeting, we have a very informative website that's available. Additionally, you've probably noticed some short videos that have been shared out on social media. But just wanted an opportunity to give you guys an update and answer any questions that may have come up between now and our last update back in March.
I appreciate all of the time. Look at the number of meetings that are on that list. How many times did you guys go through that same presentation? Do you have it memorized? No.
I feel like it was more than 20. And I feel like we could probably go through it without any slides present and do a pretty decent job. But it was really nice to have that opportunity to provide information and answer those questions of anybody within the community that may have had questions or needed additional information.
I think I asked this at a previous meeting, but after all of these meetings, what do you think were there a couple of one or two reoccurring questions that were most commonly asked that you were able to answer?
I think each group had different questions. I know one question that I feel like we had in the beginning, and I believe we talked about it last month, was just the fact that we've got propositions that are required now by education code that have to be broken out. We have a total of 5 of those within the current bond proposal. Those didn't exist. That education code was not in existence the last time that Lovejoy went through a bond election. Mr. Willman, I know there's been some financials, some questions that have been common. If you want to, would you like to speak?
So one of the common questions in the meeting it asked about kind of how does the Texas First rating impact our credit rating? So the credit agencies, they don't even look at the school first rating. It's a Texas rating. So our credit agencies, they provide their own analysis and provide their own rating. And as it stands right now, we have a AA2 with Moody's. And from what I know right now, only 36 districts throughout the state of Texas have a higher rating than Lovejoy. And then with S&P, we have a AA negative, and only 63 districts throughout the state of Texas have a higher agency rating than Lovejoy. And these are the underlying ratings. So with the backing of PSF, we have an enhanced rating of a AAA.
I think just to build on that question, because I've also heard some questions in the community regarding our first rating. And so could you speak a little bit to, should the bond in its current proposal pass, what would that impact look like to our first rating?
So as of the results of the 23-24 audit, we will increase our score from an 88 to a 92, which would put us at a superior rating. If the bond does pass, it's authorized, but doesn't necessarily, we're not issuing the debt right away. So as we issue, we are bringing in more cash. So when we look at one of the ratios that we're not scoring a full 10, it looks at our overall organization-wide financial statements and not the individual fund statements, so not just the general fund and not just the debt service fund. So by bringing in that cash from issuing that debt, it would give us a large cash balance, which impacts our current ratio. So previously, we have had an 8 in this score because of the bond issuance and the amount of cash that we have that would help support kind of that short-term liabilities.
So said differently is we do not expect a detrimental impact
We do
to
not.
our first rating because we're issuing debt.
That's correct. Well, we do not expect that.
And then a second follow-up question would be, could you walk me through at a high level, if the bond were to pass, what are those stage gates or controls or approvals that take place prior to issuance of the debt, prior to spend of the debt, just at a high level, just to understand what that looks like?
Right, so we would have to provide, before we can issue the debt, we would present in front of the board kind of the assumptions around the issuance of the installment of the debt based off of the different projects, and that we could afford it within the 50 cents. And then before we can actually issue it, it would go to the Attorney General that would then review it and make sure that we pass that 50-cent test. As far as the determination on that installment and the different projects, we would go through a formal bidding process to establish an architect that would help us through the design phase. And then we'd have the cost associated with that after we go through the RFQ process. And then as we go through the design phase and start the process of going through another RFP process for the construction side to establish those costs, and those would drive our assumptions and the initial need for that first installment.
Should the community expect that there would be updates at Board of Trustee meetings, there would be approvals by the board, there would be opportunities for the community to provide feedback? Are all of those reasonable assumptions prior to expenditure of the debt?
Yes, ma'am, those would be reasonable expectations.
Other questions from any other trustees? Thank you for the access you've given to our community through all these meetings and the opportunities for them to be informed, ask questions, and understand what this looks like. So I appreciate all the efforts around that with all the meetings. So thank you for that. Next up tonight would be discussion on our 25-26 board meeting calendar. I'm assuming you guys are done. Thank you. Sorry if I preempted that. You are now. Board, you have in front of you our 25-26 board meeting calendar. We've, any comments, discussions, or feedback for our staff? Anything you want to highlight, Katie?
We plan to bring this back to you for your formal consideration. So if you have any feedback, anything we need to know about in terms of scheduling conflicts, that would be helpful for Ms. Taylor and I to know as soon as possible.
In general, the meeting calendar looks very consistent with our current year. Is that reasonable?
That is correct.
So if we have any comments, we can provide those back to you prior to the next board meeting in our one-on-one sessions or via email. All right. Thank you very much. Next up is item 15, is our budget workshop number 5.
Good evening, Superintendent Cordell and Board of Trustees. So tonight for The budget workshop 5, we're just going to go through and highlight some of the budget discussions that we've had so far with the different assumptions and what the financials look like under current law. And then we'll move into some of the assumptions around House Bill 2 and kind of give a legislative update and the financial impact of that legislative bill. And then just review the kind of the preliminary timelines through the month of May and into June. So when we're looking at kind of the budget considerations, we haven't had much that's changed since the last month that we presented. So we're looking at a 2% annual payroll increase and a 2% annual increase in supplies and materials. And then we do have visibility and insight into our property and liability insurance increase there. And then we're also factoring in within current law, the guaranteed yield of golden pennies increasing. And we continue with the contingency of $300,000. The one thing that's not baked in here as of right now is the impact to the potential increase in kind of the medical insurance. We'll know more probably late May, early June. And then we'll be able to provide an update on what we anticipate the medical insurance cost to be. So when we're looking at the kind of the preliminary results for the year end for the 24-25 year, we are anticipating that we're still going to end with a deficit of roughly $322,000. We'll have more visibility and be able to shore those numbers up as we have meetings now that we're wrapping up the end of the school year and see kind of where we believe we're going to land. We do anticipate there'll probably be some movement, a little bit more favorability as we still have unfilled positions that we can recognize and some additional revenues that may be coming in to help with that deficit budget. With ending at $322,000 deficit, that would still leave us with 167 days of fund balance. So as we move through and we implement some of the assumptions that we're making for the 25-26, you can see here that we're anticipating our overall revenues to increase by 1%, where we're seeing most of that in the local revenues tied to kind of property value growth. So as property value growth increases, we're going to get more local tax collection, which then means that the state portion of the entitlement is going to go down. So that's where we see the state revenue going down while local revenues are going up. At the same time, we're seeing that our overall expenditures are going up by 5.1%. So when we're looking at the salaries and you're seeing a 4% increase, we're not comparing budget to budget. We're comparing year-to-date actuals or where we anticipate salaries are going to be at the end of this year to where the budgeted salaries for next year. So in the current state, we have a lot of unfilled positions. We have delayed starts. We have a little bit of salary differential. So that's what's causing that 4% increase rather than what we shared of the 2%. So we're anticipating that under current law that we'll have a roughly $2 million deficit budget going into 25-26. And with that being said, it would leave us with about 141 days of fund balance. 141, yes, ma'am. Under current law, that's correct.
The supplies and is the insurance cost increase lumped into supplies and materials?
That is correct, yes. So as it relates to House Bill 2, so House Bill 2 has passed through the House and is currently in the Senate and has been referred to the Senate Education Committee. So at this time, the Senate can amend House Bill 2, but it must be sent back to the House before the two sides can begin their negotiations. So with that being said, there's still much unknown, and why we'll continue to move forward with the plan of under current law. But as it exists right now, and what came out of House Bill 2 is that the basic allotment increased to $65.50. Then we have increased weights in the small and mid-size allotment, and also on the compensatory education allotment, which is tied to low socioeconomic population. So that's why you see it's very minimal there. There is a special ed component also with changing the funding mechanism. We don't have visibility in what that impact would be, not knowing the levels of intensity and the weights on those quite yet, but what we can say based off of the one piece on the special ed full individual and initial evaluation allotment, that would result in about $99,000 based off of historic data on the new evaluations that we've provided. And then essentially what House Bill 2 does is it freezes the golden penny yield, so we won't see an increase in there, which impacts the Tier 2. Also, with the impact in Tier 2, as the basic allotment increases, it compresses the copper pennies, so we'll see a lower tax rate because the copper pennies will be compressed due to the increase in the basic allotment. So overall impact, and also, I'm sorry, I've included in here the safety and security. That's not a part of the House Bill 2, but a part of the Senate Bill 260, which we can, I believe it's the $14 per student increase and the $37,000 per campus. So the total revenue increase from current law is a roughly $2 million revenue increase, and we'll see a benefit in the recapture reduction there of $43,000. But with the mandated salary increase of 40% due to the basic allotment increase, has to go directly to staff. So 75% of that has to go to teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses. And the other 25% has to go to non-administrators positions. So tentative calculation based off of how we understand it, it will be roughly a $1 million increase. And that will all depend on how we end the year when they do their final settlement for the 24-25 year.
How is LCDC looked at under SB 260?
That's a great question that I'm not 100% sure on, but I'll find that out for you and get that information to you.
And this does not include the fine arts piece that we don't have defined yet?
That's correct. It doesn't include the fine arts piece. So we have two components that will further impact it, is the fine arts and then special education.
If they didn't clarify HB2 until, say, the last day of the session, would we anticipate that we are going to pass a June budget under current law, or will we try to fold in those assumptions and pass in our June budget?
Ideally, hopefully we'd be able to incorporate as much as we can from what's passed in the early part of June into our budget for the June meeting.
And aside from legislative changes, which I know can come at any time, are there any other major assumptions that we're still waiting to finalize between? So what would we expect at, say, like the May budget workshop?
Yeah, the major one would probably be, and Anna can correct me on this, would be the health insurance and the compensation plan. But other than that, I think we've really looked at everything to make sure that there are no surprises, and that we've captured most of them.
I know we've talked about this before, but just to confirm, these budget assumptions really don't change at a high level our major student programming, our major course offerings, our major athletics and fine arts, those types of things, right? Those would be fairly consistent year over year.
That's correct. We have no intentions or plans to make any huge changes to those programs and to maintain the current programs going into the 25-26 year.
And would that also be true in terms of fees? Any current fees that we're charging for like bus transportation or anything like that?
That is correct, yes.
And again, I know the finance bill is subject to reconciliation with the Senate, and we don't know what it's going to look like because the Senate bill looks drastically different, to the tune of $3 billion different, less than the House bill. But one question I had, or just wanted to confirm, I think I know the answer to this, but we're operating on an assumption of a deficit budget under the current law and a deficit budget, although reduced, under the current version of House Bill 2. And I know one of our assumptions is not anticipating any significant programmatic changes or expense reductions. So is it fair to say that even with the additional money from House Bill 2, we're still reflecting a deficit budget, and that would still be at a 7-period day for the high school?
As it stands right now, yes, we'd be anticipating roughly a $900,000 deficit budget with House Bill 2.
I think that's a really important point, is that even with what's going on in Austin, and even with a proposal of increasing this full piece of paper here that you have with all of the different changes, it would still not be sufficient to support our current programs as we have today. We would still be in a deficit position. Now, thankfully, we've built a fund balance over a period of time, so we're not at any danger, but we want to highlight that that dollar amount is still not really what we need to restore our spending power.
That is correct, yes.
Ms. Koenig and Mr. Willman, can you address how, I do want to be clear that the information that will impact compensation plan and health insurance benefits, active legislation may impact that, and so we don't have all of that information as well. Those being two very important components of the budget development and approval for consideration process.
Yep, that is correct. So do you want to?
Basically, and you'll see in my update later, the Texas Teacher Retirement System, where we get our insurance, a TRS Active Care, they're not meeting, let's see, till June 3rd. They're having their Board of Directors meeting on June 3rd to determine what the rates for medical benefits will be for next year. They're asking for $450 million to help offset the TRS Active Care rate. So we have not done anything with that just yet because we're waiting on this information at this time.
Okay, so our next steps that we'll continue to work on the budgets and bring forward any information that we have going into the May regular meeting and closely monitor the legislative session for any financial impacts to our budget. And then we'll bring forth the recommendation to adopt a budget and then also a proposed tax rate and compensation plan in the June regular meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Willman. Any other
Thank you.
questions, board?
Thank you for the update.
All right. Next up is a presentation from our board legislative subcommittee, Mr. James.
Thank you. So since our last update, our legislative subcommittee made another trip to Austin, and we were able to have quite a few productive meetings with representatives and then representatives' offices. And I thought the conversations were productive in that lots of good questions are still being asked, and I think we're engaging and developing good relationships. One thing I'll say, I'll kind of go back and focus in on our board priorities, and number 3 on our board priorities that we haven't talked a whole lot about is talking about community-focused governance. And the first point of that, we wrote in our goals saying the best decisions about student learning are made closest to the student. And this is an area where if you're able to continue to have conversations with our representatives or other people in Austin, really talking about that fact, because there's still pending legislation in a lot of areas, both in the education committees and in Ways and Means and other areas that are really looking at us being able to continue to have local control within what's important to us here in Lovejoy. So continuing to advocate and figuring out ways for us to make sure that the decisions that are best for Lovejoy are able to be made in Lovejoy, I think is an important part of the conversation. So anything that's, we've talked previously about your personal stories and being able to tell the stories to these representatives to make sure that good policy is happening. But there's a lot, in our update here, as we go through the slides, there are a lot of bills that are still in committee. There's a lot of bills that are going to be in conference committees. There's going to be changes that are happening. And these conversations and continuing to reach out to the representatives is going to continue to be critically important as the details come together, both on the finance side and in other areas that are going to be important for our future. So if you have specific questions or if you're hearing things about specific bills and where they are in the process, we as a subcommittee are staying very engaged. I've had conversations over the weekend with some of our representatives in Austin about what's happening and why it's happening. And all of the support from the community is going to be important. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about how you can help in that process.
Thank you, Mr. James. Any questions from the board for Jason or any of us?
I want to say thank you for your continued engagement. I know it takes a lot of time to drive down to Austin and have these meetings, and we very much appreciate it. I think it's been a continued investment of this board in those relationships and that legislative advocacy, because so much of what happens in Austin that impacts us, sometimes we don't always feel like we have control over, but we're definitely leaning in and trying to drive the best outcomes that we possibly can for Lovejoy.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up tonight is to consider and act on the superintendent's annual evaluation. And just thankful to report that we were able to deliver to Ms. Cordell in closed session her annual evaluation. We are thankful for the service and the work and the outstanding performance in every category. Thankful for the commitment to our kids, keeping the main thing. And so with that, I would leave it open to the board for any comments and action.
I'll just say, I think we've gotten better at this process over the years. I feel like it is a highly effective and aligned process that we've gone through in evaluating our superintendent, but it's aligned also with it's very much driven by the goals that we establish at the beginning of every year, and it's there's real accountability, which I appreciate, and good opportunity for positive and constructive feedback along the way. And I know with confidence, as we establish our goals for the district and for our board and for the superintendent at the beginning of the year, I have confidence now that that's going to drive actual outcomes within the district, and that we could have real conversations about how that improves the district overall. And I appreciate the work that Katie has done, and I just want to say thank you for helping us continue to get better.
Yeah, I concur with that. I want to say it's just been an honor and a privilege to work with you this year. And especially I want to highlight how the vertical alignment that starts at our strategic goals, our board goals, superintendent goals, you can sit there and walk from the very top level all the way down. And most recently at Puster, you can even see it specifically in the classroom. And that work over the that's taken a few years to get that done, has been one of the neatest things I've ever seen. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that, and Katie, we've had this discussion a number of times, that with everything that's going on in public education and in North Texas and the state and everything that's going on in the political world at the national or even the international level, I'm always impressed with how you keep your focus and you bring that with you every single day on what's best for kids and what can we do to enhance the educational experience for our students. And I think as important as anything, the collaboration environment, the level of trust that you've developed with the staff, and the support that you give them and that you pay close attention to on a daily basis has been very impressive, and I'm just very thankful for that.
I'm still extremely humbled and having trouble with words, but I just want to tell you that I respect you so much. I think you're a phenomenal leader. I see you exhibit exactly who you are when there are 100 people in the room, and then I see you exhibit exactly who you are when there's one person in the room. And that continuity of character shines in your leadership. And that is what I appreciate about you the most. You are so genuine and authentic,
and your heart and your pursuit to do what is right for kids is evident in everything that you do. So it's been a privilege to serve with you, and I'm grateful.
I don't know how I would add on to any of those comments, but I'll also echo, I want to thank Katie for the work that she's doing. We ask a lot of our superintendent. I don't even know how to add enough weight to that. We ask them to interpret thousands of pages of new laws and new rules. We ask them to do it all on this shoestring budget. We ask them to do it in the face of local and even national news pressure. And so, this organization, I think it's not, we have amazing outcomes here in Lovejoy. We truly do. It's not always perfect, but we have great intentions and we want to rally around. And I would ask the community to rally around with us, rally around this district, rally around these staff. And let's continue to work together in a collaborative fashion to build this forward. So thank you to Katie, thank you to the staff that she's built. And we appreciate it for another amazing year, including one that was recognized with a #4 finish. Well, I'm 2 years old data-wise, but it still counts.
Thank you for all those amazing comments. And I can't really add anything to what's been said, but I concur that leadership is a beautiful thing, and you exemplify excellence in every facet of your leadership for this district, for our board. And I think through the evaluation process, the other thing that hopefully you feel that is that this board is confident and united behind you to support you. And we are excited about what the future holds for our kids under your leadership. So with that,
I'll move to recommend that we approve the superintendent's annual evaluation.
Second.
So move Jason James, second Jeff Wood. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, at this time, I will open a public hearing on the 2024 Evaluation Accelerated Instruction. Ms. Taylor, do we have any public hearing comments at this time?
No, sir.
Cabinet member, you may proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. So as we have stated, this requires an annual public hearing. It's required by the Texas Education Code 29.081 that the Board of Trustees hold a public hearing for public discussion to evaluate the effectiveness of the Accelerated Instruction Program for STAR end-of-course assessments. So the assessments that we are required to provide accelerated instruction for are your end-of-course assessments, which include English 1, Algebra 1, Biology, English 2, and U.S. History. Students are given multiple opportunities to pass these assessments, and they're administered 3 times per year. And traditionally, students could have up to multiple opportunities to retake these end-of-course assessments if necessary. So what we're going to be looking at when we look at program effectiveness, we look at the programming structures, the learning design, what supports we're providing for these students, the student participation, and overall student performance. So we're going to be looking at 3 different testing sessions, one in the spring of 24, one in the summer of 24, and then the fall of 2024. So when you look at our passing standards with the spring, and that's usually the first time that students are taking this test, we have a pretty high percentage of passing percentages. On Algebra 1, we had 99% of our students pass that test. Biology, 99%. English 1, 97%. And English 2, 96%, and then U.S. History, 100% of our students passed it in the spring of 24 that took that assessment. So for those students that did not pass the assessment, this is something that the campus, high school campus, looks at to analyze the performance of these students and what supports need to be provided. We also look at it at the district level and what we can do to also support the campuses. So what we offer our students, we offer tutorials during and after school, and then we also offer it for the Learning Lab, or formerly known as the Center for Academic Training. So that's where most of our students are receiving the interventions. Also, leopard time will also be another opportunity for these students to receive remediation. During the summer, we don't have a lot of kids that take it during the summer, but we had some students that passed, some students that did not. We still look at those students and we look at what we offer. And again, what we offer, we have remediation that we offer during the summer, 2 weeks during June. And they may attend remediation in all of the content areas the first week. We do have some students that may have to retake several of the tests. But again, we ensure that we're providing those opportunities. We don't require it, but students are offered that time to come in and receive the remediation. And then in fall of '24, again, we had a very small percentage of our students, mainly it was English 2, where we had a majority of our students that needed to retest. And again, we did offer in the fall, we added some reading labs and math labs this year. We did not offer those during the 23-24 school year, but during the 24-25. So we did have some of our students that did participate in those labs, as well as tutorials and leopard time, and also in the learning lab. So any questions regarding the accelerated instruction program we offer for our end of course?
Dr. Tinsley, sorry to address you as cabinet member earlier. Thank you for that presentation, Board. Do you have any questions for her at this time? Ms. Taylor, did we receive any additional public comments, any hearing comments? No, sir. All right, if there are no further questions, I will close the public hearing. All right. Item 21, I believe, is where we are. Presentation regarding the Board of Trustees campus visit, teaching and learning. Dr. Tinsley.
So several of you have alluded to this, that we facilitated during the recent board workshop over at Puster Elementary, and we were just really happy that we could provide that opportunity for you to see all of the work in action down at the campus level. So I'm just going to quickly go over some of the part of this presentation. Part of this, I do want to start with the board goals. And the board goals and the superintendent goals are what drive the goals at the campus and the district level. And the areas that we looked at were on the point 1 is that Lovejoy students will live our legacy of excellence by learning at high levels and graduating life ready. And then also on learning, the Board of Trustees will prioritize high levels of student learning by supporting our 5 culture commitments and professional learning communities. And then focusing on the commitments that we have as a culture of relationships, learning, and collaboration. So one of the things that I wanted to really highlight on this is that why have we made changes in recent years about what's going on with teaching and learning in our classrooms? And I want to lift up several of these reasons. We had changes in state testing with the STAR test, with STAR 2.0 beginning in 22-23, so it was a new assessment. I also want to lift up that was kind of right on the heels of COVID. We were coming back that prior year and had some changes that we needed to make with our instruction. Also, there's also changes in the standards that we have to adjust to ensure that we are addressing those needs in our classroom. We had the privilege of having Lovejoy 2030 that laid out some goals for us as a district that involved community members, teachers, students, and staff. And then, as you know, some changes in the state accountability system that occurred in 2023, and we just had those results released recently as well. We always look at student achievement data results, and that's ongoing, so that causes us to sometimes pivot and adjust what we're doing with learning. And then we've identified gaps in curricular resources and tools, and then always looking at staff feedback, what we're hearing from our teachers and the needs that they have. So one of the things that we did lift up is that to go from a good organization to a great one is that you have to have alignment with people, thought, and action. And there's got to be intentionality. And I heard the word intentionality about the work that we're leading here and what Katie's led as the board, as well as you, the Board of Trustees. So just kind of a visual here of the alignment. You're going to see alignment with the board goals, the superintendent goals, the district improvement plan goals, and the campus improvement plan goals. And you've heard from our cabinet members as well as principals about the actual improvement plan goals being implemented and the progress that we're making all the way down to the campus level. So when we looked at Lovejoy 2030, I want to lift up some strategies that we have been charged with to enhance student learning opportunities. Strategy 1.2.1, provide opportunities for student goal setting and reflection on progress. That also has to do, you've heard us talk a little bit about some of the new assessment tools that we have in place in goal setting. You heard our principals talk about teachers are doing goal setting with their students. We want that ownership going all the way down to the student level with their learning. Also looking for opportunities where we're increasing authentic hands-on and inquiry-based learning for our students. That was another strategy. Learning communities has been a big piece of the collaborative process where we have some shared accountability with all stakeholders here. And you've heard us talk about the planning that our teachers do together and the shared ownership and the flexible teaching and grouping that they do with students. Risk-taking and innovation, and then classroom structures that are consistent across our district so that our students and our teachers know what to expect when we're looking at best instructional models. When we look at assessment pathways, we have now a balanced assessment system that we have assessments implemented for various purposes. We don't want to wait till the very end to an end-of-course test or a STAR test to see how our kids are doing. We have to have measures in place so that we're progress monitoring. Our teachers also monitor priority standards. So every campus has a system in place where teachers are monitoring progress of these standards for all the students that they serve. And then implementation of writing as a tool in all content areas. Then we looked at providing experiences for that growth mindset that I already alluded to, and then emphasizing that learning process as well as the product. So that goes back to the reflective assessment process that we have in place for our students. And then the last one here is strategy 7.3.2, and that has to do with our campus and district improvement team. So I want to really applaud the district staff as well as our principals and their committees for leading this work on their campus. And again, there is sincere alignment across from the board goals all the way down to the campus level. Just some changes lifting up that STAR 2.0 brought forward. It went under a significant redesign, and the first implementation was in '23. So what we saw here, we moved from a standalone writing test for grades 4 through 7 to now writing is expected on all the assessments in grades 3 through 8 and on the ARLA assessments. It was primarily multiple choice. The question types changed. They are more rigorous than they were at that time. It incorporates curricular passages across all the content areas, and then just some changes with partial credit and multi-step problems were incorporated through some of those changes. And just we lifted up some examples of the changes with the questioning here on several of the assessments. We did talk also about the importance of coherence and why that's important for schools and districts, and really ensuring that we have a clear communication and a shared understanding across all stakeholders, including teachers, administrators, parents, and students, and that we're clear about what the expectations are, what resources we're expected to utilize, and the strategies, so that we're supporting our students from a K-12 lens. If we don't have coherence, it can create fragmentation with instruction, inconsistent expectations, and can create some confusion amongst teachers and students. And we've seen some of that because we have not been coherent in some areas, but we're really trying to tighten that up. It leads to sustainability over time as well, too, when we are coherent. So just one, I'm not going to go over all of these, but these are just phases of, I want to lift up the phases of change that we have gone through here in the past 2 to 3 years. The initiation phase is when we're adopting that change and we're setting the change for implementation. We are now what we believe is in the implementation stage. And what I was sharing during the workshop is that usually to get to change, to the institutional change, it usually takes the elementary, intermediate schools about 3 years to get to the institutionalization, and your secondary schools more of a 5-year. But we can definitely see evidence of where we are at the implementation stage. The coherence framework is focused on 4 areas: focusing direction, where it gives the purpose, the goals, the clarity, then how we cultivate collaborative cultures here in our district. And there's some evidence here that we have seen occurring through professional learning communities, our instructional frameworks, vertical teams, targeted professional development. Deepening the learning, that's the incorporation of a more comprehensive unit planning guides that we have developed for all of our core content areas, with the plan to have, beginning the 25-26 school year, unit planning guides for all courses, electives, so that every teacher will have a more comprehensive resource to guide instruction. And then finally, the accountability piece. So when we talk about accountability, it's the goals that we set forth for ourselves, how we're monitoring the goals, how we're adjusting that along the way, of course, assessment, and then the incorporation of a more comprehensive student and teacher and staff appraisal tools. Lifted up the importance of a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And what that just ensures is that, I think the title itself specifies what that means, is that ensuring that it's not the teacher lottery, that we know that every student will have access to the same curriculum, the same standards. And then when we look at the 7 components of a guaranteed and viable curriculum, we have all of these in place: scope and sequences, learning standard, clarification guides, vertical alignment, our unit planning guides, the alignment between curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We have feedback systems in place, and then the full visibility of student learning in progress. And then this just a visual of that guaranteed and viable curriculum that gives you examples of what we have, and I can say we have all of these examples going on here in Lovejoy. So then we engaged in learning walks. And why do we do learning walks? You got to see learning in action. You can also allows us to celebrate and spot best practices so that we can share, teachers can share with each other. It also creates a common understanding of what those strategies look like in actual practice in our schools. It helps also campus leaders and district leaders look for needs of maybe future professional development needs that we may have. It also enables ensuring that we have conditions to where it's very learner-centered in our classroom. And they are intended not to be evaluative like a teacher evaluation visit would be, and not judgmental, but more of learning for those who are involved in it. So this year we have really engaged more district and campus leaderships with the goal to where next year we are going to be incorporating some of our teachers to participate in the learning walks with us, and then hopefully even campus to campus. So we're doing that vertically across the district. And then these were just some pictures, some photos of maybe some of the things that you saw when we were in the classroom over there. So I know I went through that very quickly, but you guys all saw this, but I wanted to just lift this up again and celebrate it.
Thank you for presenting that. You know, I was impressed with a lot of things. One of the things we didn't talk about was the focus of the kids while we were there, and the fact that our presence didn't really interrupt the learning process. And I could tell that it was a practice that they were accustomed to and that they were used to, and that was pretty cool as well. I know it would have thrown me off as a kid, so. Or do you have questions for Dr. Tinsley?
I just want to thank you for going through all of that again. Of course, the board participated in a full board meeting. We had a robust discussion about all of those slides and pie charts and things like that. But I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed that conversation. So often, as in a trustee role, we look at contracts and budgets and stuff like that. But in this case, we were really able to see kind of, where the magic happens. And so we walked into a kindergarten classroom, and they were learning some phonics and doing some dances and things like that. I really enjoyed that. And then we walked into a fourth grade classroom that was doing some math. I didn't know the answers to anything that they were talking about. I'm just kidding. And I really enjoyed myself. And I want to echo what Mr. Owen said. The kids could not care less that we were in there. And so we were able to observe, and they were proud of what they were doing. And I really enjoyed that. And my point was, I lost my train of thought. The thing I wanted to, because of course we didn't talk to the teachers because they were busy. And so I'll just add belatedly, thank you for allowing us into your classroom. We really appreciate that.
I think my comment is, being the liaison to Leadership Lovejoy, this is the third learning walk session I've been through. And what was unique about this one was you presented top to bottom, full circle, all the work that you've been doing. And I kind of referenced that in the comments about Katie's review, and that is it's come full circle, and it was the most amazing thing to see how you can walk the line from the very top goals all the way down to the very classroom instruction. And the teachers know that, and the administrators know that. And so I think you've achieved a little bit of coherence. Am I getting that correct? And so it was a privilege for us to see that. And a little plug for Leadership Lovejoy next year. If you want to do that yourself, we got probably another session. Are we doing that next year? Okay, I think there's going to be some learning walks in that involvement. But if you really get to see that, it really just shows what great teachers we have, what great students we have, how they are engaged, and how even at the lowest level, the kindergarten level, they're setting personal goals and then learning how to achieve those. That's a future-ready skill that's starting all the way down at the lowest grades. So it's been an amazing experience, again, to see that. And I really want to say thank you, like Julie said, to the teachers for allowing us to experience that. Thank you to the students in the room for answering our questions, even our little, kind of our crazy questions. And they were just attentive and held your eye, and it was an amazing experience. Thank you.
I think I want to highlight that every minute of that experience was being utilized optimally. Like every kid, there wasn't a single second where they weren't doing something productive. And watching how intentional the planning that teachers do to share the kids from each classroom to optimize learning, there really was not one moment of utilization of time that wasn't super productive for everybody. And that was what that takes so much collaboration across the grade levels to do that, that was really cool to see how much each kid is really getting an optimal experience by the intentionality and all of the planning that goes behind that.
Yeah, I would just say that, the charts and and the graphs and the terminology that's part of your profession, it doesn't do it justice until you see it, in action in the classroom. And I just thought that was valuable time spent. And, it made me feel really old because, I started kindergarten in the Carter administration, and the amount of technology, we all did, some of you, not Rodrigo. Anyway, not you. The use of technology, to engage the students from room to room was impressive. At one point I thought the kids were vandalizing the desks and writing on them, but no, they just wipe it off and start it over, and they're doing complex geometry on, their desk. But anyway, I just thought it was great, and And I know also that, you know, the teachers that had full control and command of that classroom and had all those kids with their hands up wanting to answer questions and be engaged. There was no goofing off. There's a culture of respect. You can see that, and there's a love of learning. And I know every single bit of that doesn't happen by accident. I know it's intentional. So it was great to see firsthand.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with the community and with the board tonight. Give us an opportunity to see that again. It's confidence and conviction for what we're doing is certainly, it enhanced that with us for certain.
Yeah.
And so thank you.
You're welcome. There's a lot of intentionality behind it, and you know, we're entering the season right now as we start gearing up. That doesn't stop when school ends. Our teachers are back with us the week after school's out, and we're writing curriculum, and their expertise is so valuable in this process too. So I concur with what the incredible work that our teachers are doing through the planning, through the actual implementation, but also the planning on the back end to help come together as a district to create that intentionality and coherence. So thank you.
All right. Well, guess what? You're up again. Dr. Tinsley, Lovejoy High School Counseling Services.
Okay, well, thank you. So Mr. Wheeler is going to come and assist me with this presentation. And this was, again, we're going to tie this back to some goals that started with superintendent goals and also with goals that Mr. Wheeler has in his campus improvement plan. So 2.3 of the superintendent goals for 24-25 was to implement a student and parent survey of our high school counseling services. So there were some key indicators, performance indicators, that we wanted to ensure were part of that survey, that we administered a survey to parents and to students. We administered those surveys this spring. I have been through the process of analyzing those. Tonight, you're going to receive a summary of the survey results from and some where we're going to be talking about how we're going to be developing goals from some of that feedback. And then we're also going to highlight some of the tools that we're going to be utilizing to implement goals and performance objectives to support our secondary school counseling services. Also, as I mentioned here, Mr. Wheeler included these performance objectives within his campus improvement plan, and he's highlighted these at some previous meetings. The first one is that Lovejoy High School implement a comprehensive school counseling program to include guidance, curriculum, responsive services, individual planning, and system support, and that's part of House Bill 18. And then performance objective 2.4 is that the Lovejoy High School counseling team will develop a comprehensive communication plan to raise student and parent awareness on application timelines, transcripts, and GPA and processes. And you're going to hear a little bit tonight from Mr. Wheeler on some of the work they've done thus far in that particular performance objective. So I'm going to hand this part over to Mr. Wheeler.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tinsley. So first, a little background on the survey that was administered. We had a window of March 6th through March 28th for our parents. Our students took the survey on March 28th. It was completed through a third-party administrator that was Survey Hero. And again, it was administered to all Lovejoy High School parents as well as students. So for our participation, we had 193 parents that completed the survey, which is about a 10% completion rate, and we had 650 students that completed the survey as well. So one thing that I wanted to point out, and it's a little blurry up on the screen, so the bar graph that you see is from our students, and we asked them what they are accessing their counselor for. And overwhelmingly, what we saw was our students are accessing our counselor for academic supports. So study skills, test-taking skills, organization skills. We also talk about some college career readiness skills in there as far as the academic supports. And then as well as some other areas, getting involved in school clubs, some of that social-emotional learning piece, mental health resources, all that our counselors take on. But overwhelmingly, what we saw from our students is they utilize their counselors for that academic support. And then we saw a similar similar trend on the bar graph you see with our parents, where our students were, or our parents are utilizing counselors for those academic supports for their child. So one of our takeaways from looking at that, and the reason that we ask that question, is to see where we are best suited to spend our time with our counselors, and where that focus should be. So some areas of strengths and some celebrations that came from the survey. Our parents and students are aware of our dual credit and AP offerings. We do a good job of getting that information out. Our students are, as we all know, are willing to take on those challenges of dual credit and AP course opportunities. Our parents agree that the counselors provide guidance and assist with understanding of graduation requirements, and that's a testament to the freshman and junior meetings that our counselors have with every family. So every family they meet as freshmen, they will also, with their freshman students as well as their junior students as well. The students know their counselors, and I know that seems obvious and kind of like a silly thing to point out, but overwhelmingly it was 98% of our students know who their counselor is, have met with their counselor, which tells me that our students they know where to access and who to access when they need those supports. And then there were individual comments about each one of our counselors that were overall positive, sharing celebrations of experiences they've had with their counselor, how their counselor has gone out of their way to help support them, which was encouraging from that survey. And then, as we tend to do when we give these surveys, I have 2 slides for the areas to address. So for students and parents, one thing that we saw is when we talk about CTE and work-based learning and some of the practicum opportunities that we offer, our students and parents have a limited understanding of what those options and opportunities are. Most parents rated neutral in receiving guidance and assistance with that college application process. There was a need that came up to improve that college and career counseling services for students. Parents talked about how they know what the course requirement or the graduation requirements are, but asking for a little bit more on the college and career counseling side of things. Parents were neutral and leaned towards disagree on being provided information about scholarship opportunities and application processes. And one thing that I do want to point out, and I know Dr. Tinsley will talk about a little bit later. So one thing with this survey is it was all students, grades 9 through 12, and we didn't differentiate between our freshmen and our senior students. So some of these responses may be different depending on where they are in their educational journey. So if you have a freshman, you may be less you may need less information on that final college scholarship opportunities. So we did take that into consideration, and we will be working with Willow Springs. We feel that there's a need for some collaboration across all secondary to get this information to students and parents sooner. Approximately 50% of parents indicated a need for counselors to provide guidance and assistance for students on the educational options following graduation. So that ties back to some of those from what I just talked about needing a comprehensive secondary counseling program that talks about what those options are after high school, interest surveys, areas of interest that can lead to a career, those types of things that they could explore during counseling sessions. Students and parents do not understand GPA exemptions and how class rank is calculated. That's something that came out through the survey, so it's something that we would like to take a look at. Parents indicated the need to provide students access to transcripts earlier in the summer. The time of response was delayed. That's something we saw often. And I know there's a slide for that later, but we have since addressed that, and transcripts will be out sooner. We've adjusted the transcript timeline. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And opportunities to improve communication, responsiveness, and access to the counseling department resources. One of the comments that came up is just there were times where there were delayed responses. So we want to make sure we address that in our plan as well.
So taking this information, next steps is that we are forming a committee that it will be comprised of the high school counselors, the middle school counselors, both principals from those campuses, and then some district leadership members as well. And the committee will be doing a comprehensive analysis and evaluation of the school counseling programs when we look at it from a secondary lens, because this doesn't start it starts at Willow. So we're going to be moving in that direction, and we'll have those goals. Our committee will convene in June, and with the intent that the goals will be presented in the fall. Also utilizing some evaluation tools and resources that I'm going to talk about in just a minute as we go through that process. Looking at some like school districts and programs of secondary schools when it comes to school counseling services, identifying measurable goals and strategic targets, and then adjusting the transcript timeline is something here too that Justin will be talking about. So the tools I'm referring to are these three tools right here, and they're not, it's not fully comprehensive, but we do feel like these tools are great guides for what we can do as a committee to dig a little deeper and evaluate our effectiveness. One, there is a Texas model for comprehensive school counseling programs, and that is divided up into 4 areas: guidance curriculum, responsive services, support system, and individual planning. And that has to do looking at counselors from an elementary level all the way up to high school. And it looks a little different at each level of what the role of the counselor, it changes from level to level. So that will allow us to take that tool and look at what is the ideal state we would like our teams to be in each of those 4 areas, and then evaluate where we are and what are we going to do to move to the ideal state. The other opportunity we have is that we're asked to be included in an effective advising grant, that we have some funds from the state, and we are in partnership with Region 10. And what this grant is, it's truly about the effective advising framework, and it's intended for secondary schools. So the state at that level, they're putting funds into that right now to where they're really trying to shift some of that work and the work of our school counselors to where it is about the advising and the career and post-secondary education planning that our students are doing. So members of that team are the very same representation that we have that I mentioned that will be part of the committee. And then we work with a representative and a coach from Region 10 on that grant. And then the last one, this is a new counseling evaluation tool we put in place this year. It's very similar to the T-test, which is the teacher evaluation tool. And it aligns with the Texas model for the comprehensive school counseling. So those 4 areas are how we evaluate our counselors' effectiveness. And they're also able to use that instrument to establish goals, personal goals, and then team goals as well. So those are the 3 tools that we are going to be starting with. So when I talked about the 4 areas on the Texas model, if you'll look here at as we get to the high school level, and I really wanted to lift up individual planning. That's about, at the elementary level, that's about 5 to 10% of the time that a counselor would be spending with students on individual planning. As you see, it increases as we go into middle school, and by the time you get to high school, about 35% of the counselor's time is really focusing on that individual planning. And when we looked at our survey, that seemed to be an area that our students and parents were saying what they needed. So I would anticipate that our goals are going to have a pretty heavy focus in this area through the committee's work. Again, this is just a graph that shows you the difference of how that time is being spent. And again, this aligns with the counseling evaluation tool as well. And then by the time you get to high school, this is a big bulk of their time is being spent on individual planning and support for students in that area. So these are the competencies that we look for in our students in planning and career readiness. And again, this comes directly from the Texas school counseling model, is that first competency, they're motivated to succeed in their personal endeavors. They demonstrate career exploration skills. They possess the knowledge and skills to gather information for their post-secondary education and career planning. Demonstrate awareness of the importance of post-secondary education, and then understanding the relationship of their world and life at home in the community. So again, you'll see how the planning component is super important as far as building these competencies with our students. And then I'm going to let Justin talk about some changes that they've made with the transcript timelines.
Sure. At the end of last school year, going into the beginning of the start of this school year, we sat down and talked about what the process looks like for counselors as they start processing transcripts and making official transcripts available for our juniors going into their senior year that need to start applying to colleges, and they need those transcripts early. So when we sat down, we looked at there were a lot of moving pieces to how that works. So we created a calendar that involves the entire process and talks about how we can streamline it. And it really, it's really holding everyone accountable along the way. So what we were able to do when we sat down and looked at that timeline and calendar is last year, official transcripts were released at the beginning of September. This year, they will be released in late July. Early August, so very end of July, first couple days of August, which will give our students plenty of time for that application process. It's quicker than a lot of our neighboring districts as well, and I know some of the comments on the survey were, as our students go into very competitive schools, they want to make sure their applications are seen early and read early. So we were able to make that happen without jeopardizing any other aspects of school operations. So that was a success and a collaborative effort with Dr. Tinsley as well as our counselors as well on that one. So I already talked about that second point, and then the next step, we have it written on a calendar and written out. We're looking to make it user-friendly from a parent perspective to publish to the website. That way it answers questions before they become questions about when the transcripts will be available and those types of pieces. So we're working on that now. We'll have that within the next week or so. That way there's a clear expectation of when everyone can expect those pieces.
I really appreciate this work. I've gotten lots of questions over the years about this process, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of these things you're working on continue to move to fruition. But I think this is a great visibility into the work you're doing to get the information out to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments and concur completely. All right. Next up is, thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
Yes, thank you.
Item 23 is to consider and act on the approval of instructional materials selection recommendations for mathematics K through 5, K through 5 reading and writing, and K through 3 phonics. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. During the March meeting, we shared with you our recommended materials for mathematics K-5, reading and writing K-5, and phonics K-3. Just going to do a quick review of why we were looking at selecting new instructional materials. This was part of House Bill 1605, and that was where there was a new criteria set forth about how campuses or districts reviewed instructional materials. This just lays out the process. It created more flexibility for schools in the TEKS and revision schedule to where we were not required to follow an annual adoption cycle as we had in previous years. Then we shared also about the State Board of Education with the multi-year plan to complete the reviews of instructional materials that they would deem met the highly qualified instructional materials. And then it outlined also with some of the state-owned textbooks that would be subject to approval by the State Board of Education. This is just an example of the multi-year plan that the State Board of Education laid out. This first cycle was set forth in 2024, and in middle of November is when they actually released the titles of the materials that met the guidelines of the high-quality instructional materials for those areas that we are asking you to consider approval on. This just defines that what occurred with the State Board of Education, and the process that we followed here in Lovejoy is that we formed a instructional materials review, an approval committee that was made up of K-5 teachers. There were approximately about 35 members on that committee. We met for 3 days, 3 full days, and did a very in-depth review of our current instructional materials and also new instructional materials. And then came forward with a recommendation that, again, we presented to you in March. So the purpose of that committee was to really gain clarity on our new process that we have in place, create a common understanding with the process that align with House Bill 1605, unpacking using a very comprehensive rubric for each of those instructional materials, and then through the analysis where we ended up with the recommendations. We also made sure that we incorporated our instructional frameworks for reading language arts and mathematics, which is really our philosophy here in Lovejoy, that we define what our belief is in instruction in those areas. And this just outlines some of the components of the rubric. And we're at the timeline here, so we're at April 28th here to request, consider, and action on approval of the instructional resources. So the ones that we are recommending based on the result of the instructional materials review and approval process is Bluebonnet Learning Mathematics K-5, HMH Into Reading K-5 for reading and writing, and then the HMH Structured Literacy for Phonics K-3. We currently are using HMH Structured Literacy for K-2, but there will be a new component where third grade will be added on beginning the 25-26 school year. I wanted to come to you this time with some more clear cost on what we were anticipating. And again, these are estimates in working with the publishers. We would not need to incur additional costs for the phonics because that is we were already involved in a 4-year subscription with that, and that was paid for with the educational materials allotment money, so that's already been incurred. The HMH Into Reading, the cost for an annual subscription right now is around $87,000 is what we're being quoted. The reason I'm not recommending a 4-year subscription is that there's a possibility that this is going to go forward to the State Board of Education and could be considered an approved material, so that it could roll over into Bluebonnet funds. So we didn't really want to have to expend EMAT funds for 4 years if Bluebonnet, if it is approved and we could come back. So we would have to come back to you to request approval for that for the second year. Doesn't mean we're just going to use it for a year. We anticipate we would use it for 4 years at least. And then the Bluebonnet Math is an estimated cost of an annual subscription of about $48,000, and that's Bluebonnet funds. So we, right now, just to give you an idea on our EMAT funds, we are at the end of our biennium with EMAT. So we pretty much have expended all of those funds from the last biennium. We will not receive the allotment for EMAT until September of '25. What we're kind of hearing, we received around $700,000 last time. Now, keep in mind that covers multiple instruction materials. We are hearing that possibly that could be lower because Bluebonnet is now there. So we don't really know what the legislature will end up doing with that funding. So, but we feel like there would be plenty that we could expend it using that. The Bluebonnet funds that we currently have is we were allotted money for the 23-24 school year, and also we were allotted money for 24-25. So we have a balance right now of about $311,000 in Bluebonnet monies. So as you can see, if we went with the math this year and HMH is approved as a resource, we could use the Bluebonnet for that purpose as well too.
I'll just add thank you for the process that you went through. Thank you for the thorough review of our current materials and all of the new materials. I know we went over this in the last meeting, so you've already addressed all of my questions, and I appreciate you talking me through the questions I had on HMH and also on Bluebonnet. I think I mentioned last time, I did go review the materials. I think they're great. But what is most meaningful to me in this vote today is that our teachers had such an alignment behind these two items, and I'm very optimistic as to how they will benefit our teachers.
Other questions or comments? If not, I
Yeah.
consider a motion.
I move that we approve the instructional materials as defined.
Second.
So moved. Marvin Bowe, second. Jeff Wood, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Consider an act on employment agreements and Chapter 21 contract recommendations. Ms. Koenig.
Yes, I have given you in your folder our next employee Chapter 21 contracts and employment agreements that we are asking for you to approve for next year. All of these positions are included in the 2025-2026 budget planning as of this time, and so that's what we are recommending for you to approve this. Consider an act on this.
I move that we approve these contract recommendations as presented.
So moved. Julie McLaughlin, second. Jason James, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 25, consider an act on the use of bond funds for silent panic alert technology devices. Mr. Percival.
If you guys recall, during the March board meeting, we brought forth kind of the process that we had arrived at a finalist in the search for a replacement device that meets the silent panic alert technology requirement that's set forth by Alyssa's Law here in the state. Five Stone Safety and the Centegix 4-in-1 safety platform was the product that we had presented. So I just want to do a quick recap of that product. Currently, the school district and all of the employees have a wearable device. It looks very similar to this. You press the device, it sends an alert to those that have been pre-programmed and selected within the district, both at the campus and the district level, to notify that the employee's in need of some sort of assistance. This device is end of life, and we were notified recently by the product service provider that these devices will no longer be supported in a K-12 setting. That will be active last day of school for current school year. And so through the research, we brought forth the finalists, like I said, back in March. Centegix offers a variety of options that we currently don't have the functionality utilizing our current device. That includes the SPAT requirements, but also the mapping, reunification, visitor management integration. Also, you see on there the areas, both classroom and hallways, would be retrofitted with strobes so that you would get a visual indication anytime there was an alert that had been pushed out by way of triggering one of our response protocols, along with outdoor locating beacons. And so there's a 2-button functionality on this particular device that's about the size of a proxy card. That's a wearable that each staff member would have. One sequence of presses would say that I need help. It's not an emergency, but I need somebody to respond. The other sequence would be for first responders. And so through that sequence, you can also deploy any of our standard response protocols where you would have a visual cue, both with a strobe, screen takeovers, both display boards like we're looking at tonight, along with any of our district-owned technology in the classroom at that campus. There's also an alert activation process on electronic devices that would be in the form of an application for like on a tablet or a cell phone. And so you'll see on this last slide, these are examples of the different colors that correspond with the Texas School Safety Center standard response protocols that we use in our campuses, not only for drilling purposes, but also if we need to initiate an actual protocol. And so those colors correspond with each of those 5 protocols that we drill on daily. So I say all of that just to kind of refresh what we had talked about last month. But I would love to answer any questions that you have before we move forward with the recommendation.
I am excited for our staff, teachers, parents, families to experience this newer, higher level of security, that it will be apparent and obvious to folks that will be, once this is implemented to the extent we approve it. I am excited about that. I enjoyed the presentations on the opportunities that we had, and this was a clear and present winner of what's required. And so I'm looking forward to seeing it implemented. It will be a confidence builder, sense of security that will come about just mentally and physically because of what the functionality is. Questions, comments?
I just have a comment, I mean, and maybe a couple questions, but you know, when it was presented to the District Safety and Security Committee, I mean, this was a clear head and shoulders above the other presentation. And I think, you know, not only is this going to be required for the first day of school, first time, you know, even though it's something we've had for, I mean, Amy, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. We're losing that provider, and now for the first time it's going to be required. I mean, I think it's important, number one, that we comply with the law, but number two, I think it's important because this is a layer of our overall safety and security protocol that's very important. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, safety and security is a non-negotiable discussion point for me because I know how important it is. You know, this does add some enhanced features from our current model. And my only question, I know it looks like we're using 2014 bond funds. And I just had a question about, or maybe you could provide a little information on, you know, the importance of making this decision now in terms of the implementation timeframe and the training of the staff that would go into getting us ready to go live on the first day of school next year.
Sure, that's a really great question. And so implementation is honestly a 120-day process from time that the approval takes place. And so in order for us to even make it inside that window, Five Stones Safety has already made some concessions pending the decision tonight where they start to develop the maps already, just so that we can start working towards that implementation phase. So within that 120 days, which we've already entered into, that's the time frame that it would take to come out and actually build the infrastructure here within our school district at all of our facilities, because it wouldn't just be our instructional, it would also be our non-instructional facilities. And so all the infrastructure along with the strobes, the gateways that we looked at in the presentation, and then that training component is extremely important. And so all of those things have to happen prior to August 7th, in addition to all the teaching and learning that has to happen with our staff, both existing and new, to prepare to get ready for the classroom. So this is just another layered and component. And so the timing is extremely important, and that's why you see the recommendation brought forth for consideration tonight, and not something that we're waiting at a later date for.
More just a comment. I appreciate the work that's done on this. I think this is part of our board priorities, part of our district priorities is around safety of our staff and our students. And I know we've covered just it briefly tonight, but I wanted to acknowledge the work of the District Safety and Security Committee, Mr. Owens and Mr. Wood, who went through all of those presentations with you in detail. I want to thank you and Mr. Littlefield for answering our questions in closed session. And so I think this is important, not only just to comply with the law, but also to keep everyone as safe as we possibly can. And I'm excited about the features that this is going to add to our campuses.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, the real thanks goes to the members of the community and the first responders that are the experts in the field that comprise the District Safety and Security Committee. You know, that's the majority of the committee, so I want to thank them. And then one more thing, I know it was presented last time, we're talking about a 5-year term, correct?
That's correct.
And we're also talking about, are we talking about a lease of the hardware and the equipment, or is it more of a purchase that we'll own it over that 5 years and they'll provide the support over the 5 years, and then after that, we'll own the devices? Right.
We'll acquire the devices and the infrastructure for the 5 years. They will provide the support and the training. But yes, it will be our equipment and our devices during that 5-year period, with the option to renew, obviously, once we get further into the contract.
I move that we approve the silent use of bond funds for the silent panic alert technology devices as presented.
Second.
So moved, Jeff Wood, second, Julie McLaughlin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up this evening is consider and act on the Nike agreement. Dr. Travis Sambezi.
All right, members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you for having us tonight. We're going to go over the Nike agreement, and tonight co-presenting with me is our athletic director and head football coach, Todd Dodge. So we'll be going through the presentation with you and then give you a chance also to ask any questions as we go through it and at the end. All right, so Nike is an all-school agreement, and it's an all-school deal with Lovejoy ISD Athletics. A couple of the highlights to the agreement. The athletic department will receive an annual product allotment of $10,000. Teams, when they buy Nike gear, will get 40% off apparel, 30% off, 35% off footwear, and 25% off accessories. And will also receive displacements for each of their uniform purchases in the first 2 years of the agreement. And this next slide right here goes into that detail. So in year 1, on uniforms and incentives, all eligible sports, excluding football, will receive $2,000 for the first set and $1,000 for the second set of uniforms purchased. And then year 2, they'll have an $1,000 option and a $500 option. And to put that in context a little bit for you, for instance, when we were deep diving this with one of our coaches, a set of brand new Nike soccer uniforms costs about $2,500. So if you look at this, if the soccer team implemented a uniform purchase in year 1, they'd be getting a set of uniforms for about $500 with that. And then any other gear they bought, they would apply that 40% off apparel, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then of course, in football, buy one, get one in years 2 and 4 of the agreement, meaning fall 25 and fall 27. And then a $10,000 product allotment in uniform years and a $20,000 product allotment in non-uniform years. There's also free off-season gear for our football team, I believe 75 apparel sets with also 75 footwear. And anything else that you want to add to that, Coach Dodge, in regard to the Nike agreement?
Well, one of the things that as we have transitioned in football, and probably 75% of our sports are already wearing Nike. But like our middle schools right now, our middle schools are in need of new uniforms. I'll just speak from a football standpoint. And the ability to buy these every 2 years and then buy one, get one free. So like we're fixing to send our sub-varsity everything that the varsity wore last year. And it would only be year 3 of those uniforms. We did not buy a new set when we came in. So this agreement is really going to allow us, it's going to be felt not only at the varsity levels of sports that are offered at the middle school, but also at the middle school, you know, as we go through to, and one of the things from a football uniform standpoint, we're still in Under Armour, which we've been out of Under Armour at the high school level for probably going on about 8 years now. Okay, so we'll be able to transition them into a Nike uniform. So it's not, it's a plus not only at the high school level, but also at the middle school level.
And then working with our colleagues, when you look at price comparison of apparel across other brand names and vendors, we're looking at increased savings as we purchase Nike gear and we use these incentives and these discounts. And then as you see the savings component right there, 23% for the district, and potential savings going forward would range from $30,000 to $40,000 annually. Another key component that that I definitely want to point out, this agreement also has a phase-in clause, a 2-year phase-in clause. And so, for example, let's say that our programs this year worked with their booster clubs, worked with their head coach, and they bought 2 new sets of uniforms, and those are Under Armour, those are Adidas, that's a competitor to Nike, right? And it's a different brand than Nike. They would be allowed to use a competitor uniform for the 2-year phase-in period, and that's the same agreement on any gear that they bought. And in speaking, what we would do proactively is continue to work with our head coaches, our booster club presidents and treasurers as they make, I guess in PTO or PTA language, a plan of work for their program, right? And they would be able to work with their head coach, and as they handed down Nike uniforms to their JV sub-varsity level, like Coach Dodge was saying, we would have plans at middle school on this deal. But it gives them time to where they can still, if they purchased new products 6 months ago, they can still wear that at no penalty and not have to worry about that. And it gives them time to adjust to this. We just ask that as our coaches order new gear, that it's Nike gear that they're ordering from here on out, and then they can handle their own phase-in.
So my understanding is everyone under this agreement, Nike wins because we convert all of our athletic programs to Nike apparel.
Yes.
What's the term of this agreement?
5 years.
5-year term.
I'll apologize if this is not a good question. I don't have a child in sports yet. So what's the background for us pursuing this agreement at this point in time? It's a cost savings metric for us?
Well, it's one that Nike and Game One is our vendor that we do most of our business with on buying equipment, buying uniforms, Nike uniforms, Adidas uniforms, Under Armour through that vendor. They have come to me before with this at a different place, and we've gone to it to be to an all Nike school. From the standpoint of that, it's able to pass on the savings. You know, when we in football right now, we are in a Nike agreement with them. We are considered one of they've got 25 football programs in the nation that are on a particular deal, and this is just able to now for all of our sports to be able to not only get the uniforms every other year, but also get the savings on uniforms and apparel. Okay, so with all of us going in together, you know, one of the things that I talked with them about, what if it's hard for a golf coach to find Nike apparel that's fine. It's not going to be such a hard, fast. I mean, they want all of us in, and that's one of the reasons that they understand that someone bought a pair of Adidas uniforms last year, or in some cases, is that we referred to is that some of them were purchased. You know, when you start purchasing uniforms, a lot of times the year that you're going to wear them in, you've ordered those a year out. Okay, and so they're already, in some cases, they're already here, but they understand that. So it's not going to be a deal where we have to be in that uniform right now. But in one of the things, I think it's just there's a sense of pride to all be in one look. There's going to be some some other things that are going to come with it, some branding stuff that's going to be able to come with it around our stadiums and stuff, with some Lovejoy branding that's going to be with Nike. Of course, that's something that obviously will be brought before y'all before it comes. We have those opportunities with Nike. And frankly, it's just, I mean, it's a program that they have offered that no other vendor has offered to us. So it gives us an opportunity to get savings across the board in many sports.
So you've had experience in this type of agreement in the previous?
Yes.
And you've had a favorable experience?
Yes, I have.
Thanks.
And today, there's a relationship between the district and the booster clubs in terms of purchasing new equipment and new gear. And so that would continue. It's just that you would be selecting Nike as your vendor.
Right. Well, it's going to be the head soccer coach. Okay, head soccer coach is going to ask his booster club to raise the money, and then he's going to choose the uniforms that he wears. Whether it, in this situation, now that we're all going in together, and all of our coaches, that we brought this to their attention several months ago that we were heading this direction, and really wanted to get some feedback from them. Are y'all aboard with it? Are you just absolutely in love with a particular brand that you just can't break away from? And so they're all aboard with this. There's a few of our sports, as I mentioned golf earlier, sometimes there's, you know, our golf coach, and they're the experts in their sport. Okay, they know if I can't find the right kind of stuff or it's hard to find some Nike gear, it's not going to be, especially in footwear, okay, because we are not, they are providing us savings on footwear, but, you know, I'll just give you an example. There's many years ago when I was at South Lake, we went into a deal similar like to this at Under Armour, where their shoes were terrible, to be honest with you. And I told them, we're not going to wear your shoes. So the shoes are pretty personal for an athlete, you know, and so we would like them as much as possible being Nike shoes, but it's not going to be a deal where they're going to, you know, we're not going to get a call on a Saturday morning because one of our baseball players had a pair of Adidas on or something like that. So.
Questions? So if there are no further questions, we'd consider a motion. Thanks for the creativity and the opportunity to provide savings and uniformity to our district, working out of the box, and appreciate those efforts.
I move that we approve the Nike contract as presented.
Second.
So moved, Jeff Wood, second, Marvin Bobo. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next up is to consider an act on the Cairo Concepts Memorandum of Understanding. Dr. Zambezi.
Thank you again, sir. So once again, podium with Coach Dodge will be joining me for this one as well, the Lovejoy ISD Cairo Concepts MOU. And so this is a partnership that will be optional for Lovejoy ISD stakeholders, students 7 through 12, all staff members, parents of our students. They will all be eligible for this as we go through it. And so the mission, the partnership, and the rates, to go over that. The mission of this partnership with Cairo Concepts in this overall wellness program is to bring state-of-the-art services to the Lovejoy ISD staff, students, and families at an exclusive rate. This is an optional service and resource to Lovejoy families to be determined by the parent. This partnership model offers a 50-50 revenue sharing structure between Lovejoy ISD and Cairo Concepts. And the rates right there, those are already discounted rates. And for a session, meaning typically a semester, if you separate those into fall, spring, and summer, they each last about 4 months in this model. And the introductory rates right here, a simple normal session is going to average $250. Right now, you'll be able to sign up in the summer for $150, and then we'll do a summer and fall package at a discounted rate of $350 if you put them together. And so you technically sign up for multiple sessions with that discounted rate. Offered services between this partnership. Some things that Cairo Concepts offers to our stakeholders would be cryotherapy, Normatec compression. Those are the boots that you see a lot of runners blow up their legs in as they're sitting in recliners, so it's compression therapy. Venom therapy, think about shoulder packs and back belts, vibrations, heat, things like that. Electrical muscle stimulation, also known as STEM, segmental traction, and cleared light infrared sauna. And so when we look at those services right there, what I want you to imagine when you go into a Cairo Concepts facility, right? Their new state-of-the-art facilities, they'll have, you can go to any of their multiple locations around the area. Frisco, plenty, you can go to those if you want, but there's a new location at McDermott and Waters, and another location that's about the same distance in McKinney. And these are the two newest state-of-the-art facilities, and they also are set up the same way. Imagine a square room, and you have 4 different themed rooms for our stakeholders to come in, whether you're a teacher or whether you're an athlete, whether you're fine arts, 9th grade, or anything like that. You can sign up for this link and you can go in, and one of the rooms is cryotherapy themed, right? And you also have the saunas in there. The other one is with the boots and the belts, recliners, flat screen TVs. The other is more of a sports theme room where you could do more traditional like physical therapy exercises, the tables, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the 4th room is like electric stimulation, the STEM models and things like that, and some of the other traction therapies. And so imagine that, and then they have the capacity to move our stakeholders through in groups if we wanted, if we ever wanted to do that. Imagine 40 kids show up for a recovery session that's obviously approved by the parent, and again, it's optional. But within 1 hour, you could go through 4 different types of wellness and recovery type themes, and within 60 minutes have your whole recovery session be done. So just to kind of put a visual with that. Anything else, Coach Dodge?
These, our athletes in 2025 here at Lovejoy and across the Metroplex they're doing these services, they're getting these services. You know, I'll just give you an example. And it was kind of Wednesday afternoon and evening was the night for our football players. But they may be going to 3 different places to get an adjustment. They may be getting cryotherapy from another one. They may be getting cupping, you know, from another one, and get it for 3 different places. This is, we've kind of call it one-stop shopping, you know, for all of it. But once again, it's going to be optional, but I really do think that once the athletes find out that we have this opportunity, and then the parents of the athletes, it's going to be a big savings. I do believe it'll be a big savings for the parents. But the players are going, when they see these facilities, they're gonna be really excited about them. And so, just again, another opportunity by Dr. A, as we call him, Dr. Aurora. And one of the things that we had lunch with him a while back, and he kind of laid it all out for us. And he said, you know, no pressure or anything like that. We want you on board, but I'm only taking 10 schools in this area, and he wants us to be one of them. And so it's kind of an invitation to be involved in this. And I think it's just really important for all of our, you know, as Dr. Z said, it is for our faculty, it is for our parents, it's for everybody, and revenue is going to come back to our school district. So.
And I think the last thing I'd say is when you sign up, it's unlimited sessions. And so that optional sign up, if you choose to do it, you could go by yourself, you could go with a couple of your classmates who are also signed up, and unlimited for the amount of time that you sign up.
Thanks for that overview. Just so, if I could summarize it for myself, would be this is kind of the rationale and background of how we pursued it is that our athletes are already looking at these types of services. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of band together and get a discount. But this is also a creative revenue opportunity because there's a marketing component that comes back to the district. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. This is not something to completely push our own trainers aside. We don't have cryotherapy machines. We have big ice baths. That's what we put ours in. They fill them up with ice and they jump in there and they stay for 6 minutes. That cryo stuff, I've never done it. I look forward to doing it, but I think it's a lot more efficient so everything that they're doing. And frankly, one of the things that I think about our program, you just take from the beginning of the school year, our kids are making deep runs in the playoffs in our athletic program. Our football team played 4 more rounds. Our volleyball team played 4 more rounds. Our girls basketball team played 3 more rounds. Our track athletes right now, they are this weekend. It's upon us, and it absolutely helps because a lot of times there's an unhealthy group of athletes going to compete for state championships, and this gets them healthy, helps get them healthy. So I think it's just a win-win for all of us, and we're fortunate. He gets the credit for this one because he really delved into it with Dr. Aurora to get this here. So I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. And I'll just end by saying I really like how it offers student athletes that opportunity that Coach Dodge just talked about. Our marching band and color guard is out there in 100-degree heat, just like our football team when we start the year. Also, I would look forward to working with Ms. Koenig because think about employee wellness. We have a lot of great teachers, and their well-being is also extremely important. So anything we could offer that's optional that could get them feeling, great, they're going to do a better job in the classroom too. So,
Looks like this is a 3-year agreement on this one. Is that what I read?
yes, sir.
And then, so you mentioned kind of summer and fall pricing. Is the pricing just going to be consistent like that through the term? Is that kind of fixed for that 3-year term?
Yes, sir. Normally what you're going to see if you just buy one 4-month session, like when the kids and teachers can buy the fall right now at $250, that's going to be your normal structure per session. And then if you look forward on that on the drop-down boxes and you want to combine sessions, then that's where they'll offer discounted rates. And we'll work for them. We'll get the best discount we can each time we talk with them. But just think $250 for the year. But then if you're going to do more than that, then they'll take off like they did with the combination earlier.
As you were having these conversations, were you evaluating other vendors as well, or is it really just digging into what this one did? I know there's been so much just in the last, I think about the last 3 years. It seems like the technology in this space is evolving rapidly. So just as things change, how do we mitigate anything that's coming down?
Well, first off, you're right. So this technology and the way it's coming all together is research-based, and it's changing every single year. And then they're either coming out with new stuff or improving their current models. In regard to your question about exploring vendors, like Coach Dodge said, this vendor with the multiple locations and then also the state-of-the-art spaces that they were putting close to us, and then their specificity in regard to wanting less than 10 major programs so they could have a great partnership, and they could also do it well when they have our clients come in, right? Our stakeholders come in. That was super unique, and so we almost didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for it. It was just kind of mutual partnership that a conversation turned into, it could look like this, and so we just went down that almost a specialty model, if that makes sense.
Are there other technologies that are not included in this Cairo Concepts model that we should continue to explore as well? Other treatments, other things that are out there that could be bolted on, if you will?
In addition to this slide that's still up right here, in addition to the ones that were read to you, they also have the dry needling that can be combined with STEM, which is pretty new, and they do have specialists at their location. And then Coach Dodge talked about the cupping. In regard to anything else that's out right now, from my athletic background, we could maybe search for one, but this is pretty much the standard. the dry needle cupping compared with these, if you get to around those 9 or 10, that's pretty much the industry standard. I haven't seen anything else that, especially high school, districts are doing that kind of thing that
So
would compare.
treatments that your athletes are doing other than,
Yeah.
so there's so many things out there, right?
Yeah, there are, and they're getting these treatments. And again, they're all ones that we've researched to make sure, but they are doing them anyway. The other thing I think is important to note is for our community that wants to take part in this, they are not tied to this. They can take part in this, and if they don't like it, then they can go to their own, or they don't ever have to get. So, I mean, it's really not a contract as much as you said, as an agreement. But I think those prices would stay pretty similar for those 3 years.
So it's given us some pricing guarantees as part of the agreement, but it's not really locking us into.
Right. Right.
It's all a win.
Move that we approve the memorandum with Cairo Concepts as presented.
Second.
So moved, Jason James, second, Marvin Bobo. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Cabinet reports are up next. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. So I just want to, you all are very aware of this. The state released last week the 23 state accountability ratings, and we were pleased to announce that we ranked 4th in the state, and that is compared to 3 districts that had less than 300 students. So very proud of that, the outcome, and want to thank our teachers and the incredible work that the principals and teachers are doing on the campuses to achieve this outcome. So, and then also just when we're looking at Region 10, where we did rank number 1 in the Region 10 area as well too. So we had some communication go out to our community and our staff on Friday or last week celebrating this. And then I just also want to lift up here, because I want to make a connection. When we look at the overall rating, it was an A, 96 out of a possible 100. Student achievement, we scored an A. We also look at student progress and closing the gap. And you've heard us talk a lot about student growth. And where our expectation is that our goal is that every student grows a year's worth of growth in a year's time. And so I hope that you're seeing connections to the work that we're doing to really promote that need for individual student growth. So we know that's an area that as we've been looking at our data over the last several years, that was a gap area that we have. And we anticipate in the direction that we're moving now that we're going to start closing that, and you're going to see an A on that rating in the future. So, and then just last month I gave you some information that we were going to do a deep dive into evaluating our current gifted and talented programming. And these are some actions that we're going to be taking this spring. We are going to be sending out a survey next month. We do this annually, but we're going to make it probably a little bit more comprehensive than in prior years to our staffs, parents, and then some of our students. It really depends on the grade level that they're in. We're going to be traveling to Baylor University in Waco, a team from the district, to meet with leaders of the Baylor University Center for Gifted and Talented Development. It's a very comprehensive program model that they have in place, and we've engaged in some conversation with the leaders of that center, and so we're going to be talking with them and receiving feedback from them on just looking at our program model, looking at challenges that districts are experiencing when we look at the financial constraints that we're put under with staffing some of our programs, looking at our curriculum documents and resources, professional development. So this is our initial meeting, and during our initial conversation, they seem to be very excited about engaging in a partnership with Lovejoy. And then we are going to be adding this year, we have done this for the last couple of years with our special education teachers. We offer for them to come in a couple of days prior before all staff returns to have some very specialized professional development and that is specific to special education, because they also need the professional development that our general education teachers need as well. So we pay them to come in those 2 extra days. So we're going to take that same approach with our gifted and talented teachers. It's not required, but we're going to have some very specialized training for those teachers, and we would supplement them for coming in those 2 days as well. So we'll keep you posted on how this progress is moving forward.
Okay, good evening. So tonight I have just our standard finance update of where we are with tax collections through the end of March. So through the end of, for the month of March, we had tax collections of $830,500, which was from the M&O side, and $330 from INS. So that puts us at about 95% of tax collections through the end of March, compared to where we were this time last year at 92.12%. As it relates to student nutrition, we continue to see that our meal participation is down year over year, but at our secondary with our a la carte sales, it's kind of holding steady and keeping our revenue kind of steady year over year. We do still anticipate that we will end the year in 25 with a surplus. We're trending with a surplus here. You see the deficit from 24-25. That's due to some of the equipment replacement that we use, the use of fund balance. I also want to take an opportunity here to provide a shout out to our student nutrition admin team. As I mentioned last month, we do have we're down 6 positions in student nutrition. And our 3 amazing admin staff, our director of student nutrition, Matt McCarty, our student nutrition coordinator, Juliana Elandari, and our admin assistant, Elizabeth Farabee, they have been acting as our substitutes and fill-ins. So they've been coming in every morning doing their day-to-day job here at the admin level, from developing our meal calendars, our meal plans, our ordering, all the compliance components and everything. And then they're in a kitchen every day at one of our schools, ensuring that we're preparing meals and serving meals. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to share my appreciation for all that they do.
Good evening. Just a quick update from Human Resources and Communications. Not a lot to share about benefits just right at this time. As I mentioned before, we are waiting for legislation on our TRS active care health rate and to see what that's going to be. Right now, we believe that there's going to be perhaps about a 10% is what they were saying, which is about $50 per person. So that's why we're waiting on that. We are changing from MD Live to Recuro Health. Mainly, it's $6 is the same as MD Live. We really are looking for better customer service. We're also looking for more information. MD Live isn't able to give us much data about who's using, how it's being used, that type of thing. So we're hoping to do that. And also it's going to offer an employee voluntarily can take behavioral health, which includes mental health and psychiatric services. It also, if an employee wanted a specific service like an evaluation, it would be free of charge. So that's another option as far as that mental health. MetLife dental rates, we think they're going to be increasing by about 6%. Most of our employees use dentists that are out of network, which is pretty common there. And then we're just offering an enhanced ID Watch dog plan, includes cyber insurance and identity theft, and then the rest will remain the same. The other thing, good news, I wanted to share with you, we're really working our community partnerships. We did do the Heritage Ranch Easter egg hunt, which included a train. You can see some of our volunteers from Willow Springs and Lovejoy High School. We have some gentlemen there actually helping with the cookie decorating contest that spent the day. It was Good Friday that morning out there, and a big Easter egg hunt. So had lots of fun. We plan to go out in May once again to Heritage Ranch and help. I understand they have some competitive games going on, so you'll see some of our kids out there helping also. So super excited to be involved with Heritage Ranch this year.
Good evening. Just a quick update from District Support Services. This past Tuesday, the 22nd, was National School Bus Driver Appreciation Day nationwide. And so I wanted to give a shout out to our transportation team, our bus drivers, in all that they do day in and day out. They start their days extremely early. They go late. They work a split shift. And so they put in long days. And we're very grateful and appreciative to the service that they offer our families here in the district. Not only door to door, and stop to school, school to stop, but also all the extracurricular activities and all the learning opportunities that are given to our kiddos via the bus. So we want to thank them. I would also, I didn't put the picture on here because I was afraid she would be upset with me. But last Wednesday was Administrative Assistant Appreciation Day. Maria Arnold is somebody here in the district that supports both Dr. Zambezi and myself in all of the different areas that we support directly. And she really is the glue that holds everything together in our departments and office. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out. She works behind the scenes before, during, and after hours, and on the weekends, and so we wouldn't be able to do what we do day in and day out without Miss Arnold. So wanted to take that opportunity to thank her. And then lastly, some good news on the hiring front. We do officially have a licensed electrician. That's Scott Fitzgerald. You see him there. He's a master electrician. He's got 22 years in that industry and has worked in multiple school districts here in the North Texas area. And so we're extremely happy to have him on the team. He's already done some great things that have saved the district lots of money so far. And so just that having somebody on staff that can go out, troubleshoot, and mitigate without going through a third party means less downtime and less disruption to the learning environment. So we appreciate having him on the team. Thank you.
All right, Student Services Cabinet Report. We will just give you some quick updates in LISD Fine Arts, LISD Athletics, and UIL Academics. We'll start from the bottom there with UIL Academics. Just wanted to highlight that we recently had our regional meet this past weekend, and we're excited to let you know that the entire computer science team will be heading to Austin on May 19th and 20th, qualified for state. In current issues, we will be sending a student. Andy Choi got first place in the entire region, and so current issues and events will be sending him. And social studies, we had a student get second in the region, Bryce Brissett, and so he'll be heading down to Austin as well in late May. And so we're excited about that. We had a lot of students compete and a lot of kind of fifth place team finishes, sixth place team finishes. But just looking right here, over 8 major events, right, that they competed in, and so numerous students. Very, very proud of them. Moving to the middle right there in athletics, we'll save track for last, and we'll kind of jump around a little bit. But congratulations to baseball district champions, and we'll be playing Hallsville later this week in the first round of the playoffs. Softball's about a week ahead of baseball, right? And so they finished district, made the playoffs, won their first round playoff series in a really close game 3. They won 1-0. And then they will play in round 2 against Frisco Emerson this week. So hopefully we can get past Emerson and get to round 3. Tennis, regional qualifiers, because we just had district at the end of last week. Mixed doubles, Ryland Bratz and Morgan Hignite going to regionals. Girls singles, and this was also the district champion, Raina King. And then in boys doubles, Camden Bratz and Adnan Dohadwala. And so those are our regional qualifiers. And then very excited, on Friday we'll be looking at state track. Tyler Moorfield, 3,200. Cameron Benson, 16 and 3,200. Caden Gary, 800, 1,600. Bridget Bernal, 3,200. John Michael Martin discus, our 4x4 relay will be going. And then we have a couple alternates who are going down there with Coach Kelly in Littlefield. And last but not least, orchestra. The high school had a great spring concert. And then this Thursday, Willow and Sloan do their high school concert. That's early Thursday. And then the highlight of the cabinet report, choir pop show Thursday night. Make sure that we're there, having a great end of the year in fine arts. That's the cabinet report.
Thank you for all of those. Ms. Cordell?
Thank you. Just a reminder that early voting is tomorrow, Tuesday, April 29th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can vote right next to the red building in the small portable. And then Election Day is Saturday, May 3rd. Voting takes place from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And again, congratulations to track and field. Amazing that we have runners and a thrower. And student participation both on the girls and boys side at the state meet. That's really incredible. I think sometimes we forget in Lovejoy ISD just how remarkable it is to earn the opportunity to compete in state. So we'll be down there cheering on our track and field athletes on Friday.
Thank you for that, Ms. Cordell. Ms. Taylor, any public comments related to non-agenda items?
No, sir.
All right, with that, we'd be adjourned.